What's up, guys? First video, day one, as you can see on the sheet. I'm gonna be recording my progress in my business. Um, First of all, it's kind of taking inspiration from a lot of people who are kind of recording their process and documenting their journey. Daniel Dahlem, shout out to you. Um, and also, on the other hand, it's going to be nice for myself to kind of track what's going on. If I look back in a year time, if I keep on consistent with the videos, how I can kind of see the growth over time. So that's why I've actually written this document 2 weeks ago, and I told myself every day film, and I just don't have the time, or you do have the time, but you just are so busy doing other things. So that's why it's going to be nice to sit down at least once a week and um, go over the process and the progresses I make. I would definitely want to be a little bit more deeper into, let's say, actually numbers, as in tracking the numbers on each video and see how it grows, as in like monthly recurring revenue and how much we're doing there. But as this first video, it's more a general video of state right now, like what's going on, where we're at, what we're thinking. So the first section is a little bit more thoughts in general, and then the second, as you see here, is like actual deep dive into what's actually happening in the business. So last 6 months has been quite difficult in the business, and that's just how it's going to be, up and down, and sometimes it's going good, sometimes going bad, but it comes down to, I've been doing business, let's say, full time around 2.5 years now, and yeah, it's been not like living month to month, but a little bit. Of course, some months has been good, some months better, but yeah, it's not that I earn like a full time salary. And of course, I live in Norway, one of the most expensive countries in the world, and it's expensive to live here. My wife doesn't always work. She was actually starting to work, but then she got some pain in the back. So as she was almost like starting to earn some stable income, she kind of had to stop working because her back was hurting. So it's me, but that's okay. I like being the only one who works in the family in like that dynamic, and it's good, especially going forward in the future. But yeah, in the beginning it's hard. So there's many times where in the business, if you have your own thing and you're especially alone, it's a lot of stress and a lot like times you're like, do I really want to do this? Especially in Norway, it's kind of interesting because a normal 9 to 5 job is more like a 7 to 3 here, and they earn very good. Like if I would be like in the Netherlands or like other countries, you could kind of argue that, say, going your own route is for sure the best way, but in Norway, it's almost sometimes actually quite good to have a normal job because they pay very good. Um, so there's many times where like, what am I doing? Is this worth it? All the stress, all the extra work, long nights, and it's hard to kind of keep yourself up. So it's very good to have people around you kind of motivate you to keep going. I have a wife, helps a lot. My parents are pretty good at doing it, so that helps a lot. So interesting fact is that every time you're almost like, I've had like maybe I would say 3 or 4 real breakdowns, as in like more like mentally, like, oh, what's going on? And you're like waking up at night and thinking and looking out the window like you're in a music video where you're like, oh, this is going crazy, I have to do something else. And then every time, like right after that moment, maybe literally like a week after, maybe sometimes the next day, something good happens in the business, as in a client suddenly replies who hasn't replied in years, or you get a deal finally through. It's kind of interesting how that every time it falls in place right after you think about giving up. So every time I'm in that situation, that's what I think about. If I just keep going, we're gonna get something interesting going. um, and also, like I wrote here, sometimes think about maybe I should just do a regular job, but then I'm thinking about all the skills I've built up over the past like 3-4 years, and I'm like, if I do a normal job, I don't feel I can put those into practice as much, and then learning all the skills has not been wasted, but like you can't, like you'll just get a salary for it, you don't get like reward for how much you would put in or how well you would execute certain things. So it's kind of like, it's kind of interesting dynamic. Because also the next point I wrote, time to scale 10K a month. I've been obsessed, not obsessed is a weird word, but like, because I don't think so much about it, but like this whole thing about getting to the 10K a month is, it's been from day one, it's been my absolute goal. Of course, you can go a lot more, you go crazier, and you have like you can build crazy businesses. But a 10K a month, as in pure profit, to me sounds like a insanely good position to be in. Um, People say you should aim bigger, higher, and this and that, but I feel the way I live my life, if I have a 10K profit per month, I can do whatever I want, and I don't need much more. I don't need fancy cars. I don't need this and that. I don't spend so much money on things because, yeah, the last 2 years I've been almost spending nothing, as in gifts or stuff for myself or crazy things. And my wife is pretty good at not doing so either. That's a big one. So at 10K a month, I would always say like I first want to fully focus on getting there, and then of course, like if then a little bit more cash comes available every month, you can of course think a little bit bigger and think about investing in other things and maybe starting a SaaS, and you can go a little bit deeper. But for me, that's always been like the main number one goal. And sometimes I get a little discouraged because it's been like 2.5 years and I'm not there yet. Then I'm like, okay, it's not normal that in 2 year business you when you do it yourself you just get to 10K a month. Like that's a quite impressive number actually. So sometimes I discourage myself. Sometimes I'm like, bro, you're doing good, just keep going. But yeah, that's more the thoughts, the deep thoughts in the business. Weekly projects updates. This is this. I'm gonna keep this tab here for every video I make. If it's either on this sheet or I actually gonna have a nicer setup. But I want to have talking about the different aspects of my business. So before I begin, it's more to say interesting to say the whole thing. So what I mainly do is meta ads, develop websites, and digital marketing in a general sense. So building funnels, emails, copywriting, the whole funnel building from top to bottom in a way. But the focus is definitely on meta ads and website building. When I started out my whole journey in my agency, I was focused on this part here, Cairo clients, and then it was purely lead gen. When I This was in the Netherlands and Belgium, then I moved to Norway, and then it became a lot more local. So people like in a half an hour, 1 hour radius, they need help with a website, they need help with this and that, more like smaller things. So I kind of started building up a portfolio here. Not so much ads, which I'm trying to push, but it's hard to, yeah, spend a lot of money. Like it's for businesses, it's hard to spend money on ads and get a good return because it's like not this big cities and it's like not a lot of people live here. So local lead gen is hard. So that's why I've started pivoting a little bit more into the web shop space. So e-commerce. In my journey, I've been, yeah, trying to focus a lot more on Shopify because it's just a platform I engage with really well. Like I just get almost happy being in the back end and starting to build. So I've started to develop a lot more Shopify websites and running ads purely for Shopify shops and kind of focusing on that. Um, so that's kind of in short the whole business. What I usually do. Then maybe it's good to split this up. In this on the side, I have a partner in who's living in Indonesia, Lombok, but he's actually from the States, and we've been like trying different things for the past few years. But it mainly comes down to growth operating right now. So what that means is we actually work together with certain coaches or, yeah, course creators, and we would help them on the digital aspect, a digital marketing aspect. So they could be amazing at fulfilling, yeah, their service to people, to their, yeah, people they sell to. But it's kind of like, okay, we are good at giving this course or we're good at coaching these people. What's the next step? So that's why kind of we come in play. We build ads, we build them funnels, we kind of do the whole setup actually, and then we just work on a revenue share, revenue split deal of what we bring in. So it's a very different setup, but it's a very interesting setup because you can actually grow quite good if you get a good coach or consultant who can actually deliver amazing products. Then what we do is just amplifying whatever they do with you could say 100, but let's say we amplify by X3, X4, because we just put ads behind their existing offer and just print money in that way. So that's a very interesting play. It's a little bit more like a long term because you have to build up a funnel and everything. And of course, if you do revenue splits, you kind of have to have a little bit more long term in mind because you get paid in you're not paid like on a monthly basis. You just paid in like building up something, and then when it goes super good, she gets a good month, you get a nice share of that. So it's like a mix of both. And then the third, I would say, section, if we can actually build this up in one and then two, these are under here, and then three. Since I've been kind of like focusing a lot on ecom lately, I keep thinking, and to be just to put everything in perspective, I've been very much into drop shipping, and I've not really failed because didn't really go for it, but like I tried two or three like web shops with like 100 spend €100 on ads, and that didn't work, so I just didn't think about it. But like never really tried it. But since I know the whole ecosystem of e-commerce so well, I keep thinking, bro, I know everything. I can just implement all my knowledge into something I actually owe myself and skill it myself. So e-commerce is something that I think is very interesting, and I try to pursue. But yeah, if you can see, this is actually already too much. I've definitely seen the value of focusing on one thing and just completely focusing on that. So it's actually a little bit too much. So this can actually be more considered a side hustle. But what there I started is a clothing brand. Um, it's a Christian clothing brand called Agape, where I've seen mostly Christian clothing that I've seen, at least in Europe, is quite out there. So it's like I love Jesus, and it's like a big cross. And even though I feel that has its purpose, it's not really something I would wear on like a daily basis. And like, yeah, that's nice. It's just like on a youth camp, or if like you're, yeah, but within your community is kind of nice. But if you go to school or you go to a city, it's not something I would wear. Where it'd be like it's a nice style usually. So that's kind of where it started from, and then I just more or less started thinking, hey, what's something I think is cool, and just put something very minimalistic on it. Uh, as in, what would I wear, which is kind of has a Christian element to it, but it's not like super out there, but more like a Christian wink. So agape is something even not every Christian I've talked to knows what that means, because it's a Greek word for God's love. Because you have human kind of love and you have God's love, so it's hard to kind of sometimes distinguish between the two because they're very different things. So the Greek word for that is agape, and not even every Christian I know knows that word, but most Christians do. So if you would see somebody wearing agape, you would know as a Christian, hey, that's cool. It's like more like a wink. And I also want to put it into people's mind, or like this, not a selling point, but like a nice message with it, with the brand, is that I want to, in a way, open conversation. So when people, let's see the agape hood and they literally don't know what it means, they would ask, hey, what does agape even mean? And then it's kind of like a segue into talking about, yeah, it's God's love, I'm Christian. Because to be honest, I'm Christian, but sometimes it's hard to, yeah, be very like, I'm a Christian, do you want to hear about Jesus? Or in, not that that's what everyone does, but some people do. And I think that's kind of hard. But I do want to talk about the fact that I'm a Christian. That's also why in this video I'm not gonna be hiding the fact or not talking about it. So for me, it was kind of hard to be very much outspoken about it. So that's why I feel like in this way I can kind of contribute to that part about spreading, yeah, what we believe as Christians, but not like be super in your face about it. More like leave it as an open invitation, and like I said, more like a wink. So I do actually believe very much in this brand. It's more like a streetwear slash at leisure wear type of clothing. So it's not very complicated. Like you saw, it's just one simple logo. That's it. No crazy graphics. Maybe in the future, but I just want to keep it very simple and minimalistic, so people can just like the type of clothing and buy it, not because like has a big cross on it. So yeah, that's a quick video. It's more like a yapping video, I know, but this would more function as like the first state of what's going on right now, and then I'm going to update it based on what we're doing. Because also I would say that the use of documenting your journey is nice, as in you kind of are obligated a little bit more to put in the work, because if I don't do anything with this, next week I'm gonna make a video and I have to say I did nothing with it. That definitely puts some fire in me to start doing more. And like I said, I actually really always like following content where it's more like into the numbers, what's going on. So I want to start talking more about how much I'm earning here, how much I'm earning here, and how much I'm earning here. But right now it's like not so interesting because we're not doing crazy months. But that's definitely something I want to take a deeper look into. So first video, nothing crazy, nothing too long. I just want to keep it simple. Like I said, function number one is document my journey, and there is more having accountability to myself. And if people actually start watching the video, nice, be my guest. If not, it's all good. Respect.